conference. And also for me, it's always interesting to look back for the, over the last 12 months and see what has happened. And that is something you usually don't recognize throughout the year because things are happening and so, but when you look back, it's amazing to see what, I mean, do you think like, was it really just during the last 12 months? That sounds like it was ages ago and is already quite normal now. So since the last Inspiring conference, a lot of things happened and it started, yeah, rather sad. Oh, it started rather sad. We didn't know it at the Inspiring conference yet, but shortly after, there was the split from the Typo 3 project, which was, of course, a very difficult moment and also emotionally a very difficult moment for the Typo 3 project, for the NEOS project, for all the members who have been working together for more than 10 years. And so what it meant for us, for example, were many practical things. So we needed to start with a completely new infrastructure, for example, right? Because, well, we were not part of the NEOS, of the Typo 3 project anymore. We needed new web servers and a new place for our ticket system and all these kinds of things which kept us busy at the moment. But we also did not have access to any funds anymore. We didn't have that much budget in the end anyway, but we had to start a new way to gather some money for things like, I don't know, renting a room or something like that. Or, for example, for creating a new brand. So, fortunately, Sandstorm stepped up and created a funding platform for us, which was a lot of work to get that going. They programmed a nice order system and so on, where you can buy badges and by that support the NEOS project. That helped us getting some money, which we, for example, could use for creating the brand, but also for paying travel expenses for some members of the NEOS team so that we could meet. But that was a difficult situation. But most of all, there was a big uncertainty after that split, because, of course, the NEOS team knew what we were doing and what we were planning, but the question from the outside was, how will it continue? Now that they're on their own, they don't have the Typo 3 association anymore, they don't have any funds, how can they actually survive, and what will it mean to us? And what happened was that many web agencies who had only Typo 3 in their portfolio and were also using or trying a bit NEOS, they were a bit scared because they now had to deal with two brands, two different systems. I mean, technically, nothing really changed, but you can imagine emotionally that was a whole different thing. So many people were scared off, but at the same time, completely new people were interested in NEOS because now, for some reason, they didn't look at it so much earlier, but now that they said, okay, so this is really clearly an independent product, an independent project. We were not so much interested in Typo 3, but now let's take a look at it again. And that is what we realized over the last 12 months, that a lot of new web agencies came in who have never been part of the Typo 3 community. So in total, I mean, at Flow Native, we're involved in many customer projects one way or the other, which is a really nice way to look into what web agencies are doing. And I think what we can see is that during the last half year, a lot of momentum is there, and many people are starting to use NEOS also in bigger projects, like really big projects. So in total, it's a happy end, but it was a really tough first half year after the split to get everything sorted out. But I think also the NEOS team showed that things are going on, even without any budget or whatever. So we, right after the split, we released NEOS 2.0 with a lot of new features which were long awaited. Now we had cloud support, for example, with S3 and Rackspace and Google Cloud Storage. We had an improved translation workflow. We had a translated user interface. We had a new media browser and all that. So that was really highly appreciated. And also NEOS 2.1, which followed, when was it, shortly before Christmas or something, where we had these new features. I don't know if you've seen that, but collaborative editing in campaign workspaces or nested workspaces. We had PHP 7 support and so on. So the work was going on also after the split, and we got a lot of positive feedback. So I think after 2.0, many people realized that this is now a mature software you can rely on, and where you hardly see any limits regarding which projects you can do with NEOS. So when we look back at the Inspiring Conference last year, I counted 15 releases for Flow and NEOS summed up together, not counting the beta versions. So what would you guess? How many releases did we have during the last 12 months? 20. 20. Okay, we actually had 30. 30 NEOS releases and 25 Flow releases. Yeah? So there are really lots of versions we produced. So also something you can see by that is we took maintaining our already released versions very seriously. We wanted to make sure that if there are any bug fixes, that you can go on with an older version of Flow or NEOS, and we take that very seriously. And I'd like to thank everyone who was so toughly involved in making these releases possible, because that's really tough work to, it's also not so much fun, not exciting new stuff and so on, but thanks a lot for everyone who was involved in the release of NEOS and Flow during the last year. Thanks. All right. One thing which also helped us a lot and was highly appreciated, and also happened after the Inspiring Conference, was our move to GitHub. That helped us really improving our workflow. I personally think it made development and reviews and so on much easier, and that was highly appreciated. Also, at the same time, we moved our license for Flow to MIT. That also happened after Inspiring Conference last year. Then we also established a whole new forum for the NEOS project, discuss.neos.io. Who has been there before? Anyone? Okay. So that is really our place where you get all your answers for your problems, or where you can suggest things. And also we take transparency very seriously, or no, not seriously, fun. It's a lot of fun to actually have transparency in the NEOS project. So if you wonder, what is the NEOS team talking about? Like, what do they plan in terms of strategy, or how do they deal with their funding and so on? You can read that. We have categories for the NEOS team there, and that is the place where we discuss things. Except during the last couple of weeks, we did not post the new NEOS logo there, for reasons. We had a lot of sprints as well. So we met in Frankfurt, for example, again at DKIX, the German Internet Hub. And what was also nice to see is that every time we met for NEOS Sprint, new people joined us. And I really can only suggest that if you are in a company or you are owning a company and you have some skilled developers, then consider sending them to a sprint, and also consider giving them time to actually join one of the NEOS teams that always paid off for the web agencies involved. So who has become part of the Neos team during the last half year from here? Stand up, just quickly. You know, these guys are new. And they're still there, so it wasn't so bad. Also, in terms of events, what was introduced by Zeitgeist, an idea from Sven Dietz, was to create a new conference format, a one-day conference called Meet Neos, where we just explain what is Neos all about, what projects are being made with Neos. So we had showcases there, and with actual people who could answer practical questions. How did you persuade your customer, or how did your customer persuade you, or things like that. And that was quite successful. We got a very nice feedback from that and repeated that twice already. So .Pulse organized a Meet Neos event in Zurich. And that was before. I mean, we had a few more people joining, you know, honestly. But I was busy on the stage, couldn't take photos. And also we had just last week a Meet Neos event in Nuremberg. On that stage where Neos 1.0 was released some time ago. Right, so if all that is so happy-clappy, why are people using other systems still? I mean, good question. There's no reason, yes. There are a couple of reasons, of course. One thing is, if there's a product which is not so long around, at least not visibly. I mean, Neos is more than 7 years old already, technically, but still we have version 2.1, 2.2, and so on. So people are a bit green. They are a bit green. No, that was not my fault, by the way. So people, imagine you're in a big company, huge company, and need to decide which CMS are we going to choose next, and you're not so technically skilled, then you will be scared a bit, because you will rather take the safe choice and buy IBM. Never anyone has been fired for buying IBM, you know, back then, at least. And you don't dare to experiment with new stuff and so on. But, well, that is changing. We see big companies picking up Neos. So, for example, 1&1, the second biggest hosting company worldwide, they're using Neos for managing content on their very own website, 1&1.de. So they looked at content management systems and started a project in autumn last year, and now they're using Neos for managing content for their website. And we see, you know, just by coincidence, just until last week, I didn't even know that Volkswagen is using Neos. I've seen it on a web agency's website that they have a little showcase there. Because Volkswagen's after-sales fleet tool for bigger customers who say, yeah, I need a couple of more of these cars and so on, that is actually made with Neos. And we see also all kinds of nice brands, which are visually attractive. We see long pages and campaign websites and all that. You will see a bit more during the awards, for example. We have hotel chains who actually moved to Neos. We have other big brands which move to Neos, and a lot of things are coming. As I said, we are involved in projects from different web agencies, and I think there's a lot of things happening there. So I'm also always talking about Neos, but who is actually doing something with Flow? Yeah, that's a lot. Very cool. And the difficult thing, of course, with Flow is in terms of showcases, you don't usually see Flow on a website. Yeah? Flow is used in all kinds of maybe even dark corners of applications. not in the dark web, but as you already probably know, DKIX, for example, is using Flow for managing the routing of the international internet traffic. But there are, of course, also other companies like T3N who created their very own ERP solution and are actually driving all their business through applications made with Flow. So Flow has some importance for us, and we will strengthen that part. And a lot of things are happening in that area as well. Okay, so that was all about the past. That's just what happened after the Inspiring Conference last year. What are we dealing with right now? So we will show you some things tonight which are brand new. And one thing which you will also see is that we finally created a whole new package repository, visualize all the packages which are available for Neos and Flow on neos.io. So we will have a package repository tonight. And we will actually also do some, I would just neutrally call that an experiment, because we never know what comes out of that. And that is Alexander, where are you? There. Created a Neos and Flow marketplace. And I didn't have the URL there, right? But it's coders.market, right, yeah, that was the tweak. Coders.market. And that actually has the same packages you see on neos.io, plus packages you can actually buy. So we will try out what happens if people can buy themes or other packages which make sense for them. And we will include them into the listing on neos.io, but they are handled by a different company, and we'll probably get some revenue for the Neos project through that. But the thing is just, we want to try out, is there actually something we can help freelancers or web agencies with to create some high-quality packages they can earn a little money with. We'll see what happens there, but just take a closer look at that. It's running in a beta version right now. Coders.market. And then the question is, where does all the money, all the millions of euros we make revenue from that, where does that go to? And it goes actually to Sebastian's and Tobias' bank account. Isn't that great? To Sandstorm. Well, what they do is they have that bank account for us, and it's completely separated, of course, from the bookkeeping of Sandstorm. But as you know, we don't have any Neos association or something like that yet. But we were quite busy looking at that, because obviously we need something like a Neos Foundation, association, company, whatever. So what I can tell you is that we currently have a favorite model, what we would like to try out. So we are looking into details of that, actually figuring out, it's not called bylaws. What was it called, Tobias? Sorry? Yeah. No, I mean anyway. So you need to write something down, like what we plan to do, or like with 90% chance, is starting a community interest company. So that's a bit, you never heard of that probably, but there's a legal entity form in the UK which is called Community Interest Company, CIC, which technically is a company, but that company has strong limits. It can only act in the interest of its community. That's you, by the way. So it's not an association with all the interesting drawbacks you could have with associations, but it's also not a company which can do anything and just make revenue and has owners and can be sold and so on. A CIC, whatever you put into there, and the purpose of that company is to grow NEOS, to help the community, you cannot take it out again. You cannot just sell the company. People who are in that company cannot just take out assets. There's something called an asset lock. And we think that's quite interesting because it's a very lean model for us. We are not so keen actually on running an association, foundation, or company or whatever, but we need something like that in the background so we can have a bank account, that we can have rights for our new brand and so on somewhere, right? So we'll talk much about the details later in the upcoming weeks, but just that you heard of it, there will be a legal entity for NEOS, and it will be something exotic, of course, because that's what NEOS is, right? Okay, so something else we're dealing with at the moment is a new user interface. So what's wrong with the old user interface? Nothing really. People love NEOS for its user interface. And that's also what we are going to keep. We will keep the user experience, the way you can interact with NEOS. But what we will change is how it is technically made. We'll completely, well, actually we are in the process of completely rebuilding the user interface on a new technical basis, which will give us a lot of advantages in the future. So for example, it will be much faster. The interaction with the server will be much faster. It almost feels like a desktop application. You get instant feedback and so on. We will have cleaner ways to interact with the server side, and we also plan some bigger refactorings there. So that will be a modern basis. And the development is being done in a separate package at the moment, so you can basically just go to GitHub and install that package, and then you have the new user interface, or you can just go with the current user interface. And it will certainly take until end of the year until we have something you would use in production, I guess, Wilhelm, right? But you still have the choice. I mean, we will not just merge some unfinished work there and so on. It won't break anything for you. And then one question we always hear is like, when will it be released and so on? You know, we wanted to put a stop on that. You can always look it up in our interactive when will it be released diagram on neos.io. So we have a fixed release cycle now, which means that when you look at it, Neos 2.2 should be released in April. April, that's now. So maybe this week. Yeah? And what you also can see is that there are versions called with, that looks really interesting, these colors. Yeah. Called LTS. Yeah. That is, yeah, of course, long-term support. So that is what we are doing. The next version after 2.2 will be 2.3, and that will be a long-term support version until before we make the switch to a new major version. So now you can plan ahead. If you have a new core feature or bug fix which has been merged to the Neos master, you can actually look up when you have a stable version which contains it, and that makes it so much easier for customer projects to plan in the release cycle. Okay, so yeah, I already talked a bit about Flow, but we'll talk about branding later on this evening, of course. And a bit part of it is what is actually Flow in the Neos project. Because the Neos project is a platform. We call it a content application platform. And the content management system, Neos, is, of course, a very important part of it. But also, the framework is an important part of it. And there might be new things coming up as well. But Flow has been a bit of a side project during the last 1 or 2 years. We have been actively maintaining it, but you haven't seen big new features except for things like cloud capabilities and so on. But we have big new plans for Flow, actually. Maybe we give you a little insight into that later. But what we really want to do is establish Flow as a domain-driven design framework in PHP. And that is still something very unique and very helpful, which helps us also in typical Neos projects, which are business-oriented, where you want to actually create great experiences, but also gain some business value. And that is really what Flow is about. Okay, so I said that we have a content application platform, and we want to strengthen that part in Neos as well. We don't do roadmaps which tell you in 3 years, in 5 years, we will have these and these features, because that is not the way how our project is working. We take all the influences we get from customer projects, from where the industry goes to, and we are still a lot developing in a very agile way. So we do have vision for how Neos should feel like and what it should basically do. For example, that Content Hub idea, which we presented earlier, that is still something we have as a vision, and which you can already do today. So it's not, vision doesn't mean for us it's like 5 years ahead or something. There are lots of things which you already can do today and which we are still following to improve. And in Meet Neos in Zurich, I explained that again, the content mix stack, where you can get content coming in, mix that, and it gets out again. There are, of course, more ideas or more relations you could have. That guy here, for example, that's a beatboxing artist. Oh, that is actually not enough explained, but so what his voice could do was so limiting for him that he actually had to create programs and devices so he could, express himself with his creativity and transform his voice in all kinds of interesting ways. And that's a bit how I see Neos, because it's not just mixing content from there to there, and it's not that unemotional part. It's really a creative tool for editors, and that is why editors are also so important for us, because we want them to feel good working with Neos and allow them to be creative. The content application platform idea also means that we want to decouple Neos a bit more. There are currently a lot of functionality in Neos as a whole, like the front-end rendering and the content repository and things like that. We want to decouple that a bit more, so we become more flexible for enterprisey situations. It's more scalable if you can decouple that, and also you can have more scenarios like content staging and things like that. You'll hear a lot more about that in the product vision talk tomorrow morning after the social event, Okay, I talked about the vision and roadmap already. So, yeah, what about the features? What are the next features, and how do these features get into Neos? So, the thing is, I was asked several times, and even yesterday, yeah, we have that customer project and so on. Can I just put a feature request into in your ticket system? Of course you can do, and we gladly accept that inspiration and the ideas you have. Absolutely keep them coming. But if you say, like, we need for that customer project, we need that content staging approach, and like development time, 3 months or something. And could you do that maybe until May or so, because we really have a tough deadline? And that's not how it works, of course, because we are all doing that in our spare time or in our work time, but we sponsor it. So we will pick the things which fit into the NEOS vision, and additionally pick those which are being paid for and fit in the NEOS vision. But that is actually how things are happening. So for example, if you like the new workspaces feature, nested workspaces feature in NEOS 2.1, that has been sponsored. The biggest part has been sponsored by 1&1 actually, and another part has been sponsored by Hospitality Alliance, a hotel chain, who also was interested in that kind of functionality. So this is how things are happening in NEOS. So there's a lot more to tell, but I can't. Also, not only because of the time, but also because all these things will be mentioned in the following talks. We will have a product vision talk, we'll have that branding talk, we'll have lots of other interesting insights from actual projects. And I really hope that this particular inspiring conference will be so inspiring for you, and that will have, emotionally looking forward to just get your next NEOS work done. Thank you.